Welcome to the Everglow Show. I'm Eric McClanahan, joined by the producer of the show and host of Church Jams Now and In Defense of Kesha, Kylan Savage. What's up, Kylan?
Not much. You tried to get rid of me. I know
No.
you tried. We've been a couple weeks off of recording, but you can't do it. I'm the cockroach of the Everglow show.
Also joining us today is the author of Jesus and Joe Strummer, which is available and also available for pre-order now on Amazon. Short stories for people with short attention spans, and also resident goth kid AJ Simmons.
Yeah, there we go.
What's up,
Love
AJ?
it.
Howdy. I should have worn all
Um,
black. I didn't think that through.
I, I know I was thinking the same thing. I should have put some guy liner on or
I know.
something.
I
There we
was,
go.
yeah, should have gone all out.
Um, so we are doing this series where we're diving into some of my very favorite albums as I'm working through updating my favorite albums of all time list, which I put a poll up on X the other day to kind of see if people would be interested in something longer than 100 albums. So I gave the options of 100, 200, 300, and 500, and almost all the votes are for either 100 or 500.
I don't
Uh,
know if I've listened to 500 albums, and I feel like I've listened to so much
I'm
music.
sure you have. I'm sure you have.
You've made 500 albums.
Okay. All
Just
right.
the
You got me
world's
there.
heard one of them.
Yeah.
Most of the votes for are for top 100, so
I think that's just
that's
a solid number.
yeah. I'll probably have a crap ton of honorable mentions or something, but
Okay.
so
You should do a top 100 and then do 400 honorable mentions.
that would be funny. Just
All the
unnumbered.
Yeah.
albums like considered on the
Yeah.
list.
Yeah. Uh, I could do it. I mean, having my rate your
That's
music and having
crazy.
everything cataloged and all that
Yeah, I
helps with
forgot
that
about
kind of
that. I'm sure that
stuff.
helps because I'm just like
Apple Notes, man.
I don't have any sort of cataloging system. It's all
Yeah.
just pure vibes. I'm like,
Yeah. No,
I,
I've
I
been using
refuse. I work with data for a living. I refuse to take that kind of rigor to something fun. So it's just Chaos Goblin notes in my phone.
yeah.
that makes sense. So today we're covering an album that has been hailed as the greatest of all time by Kyle from South Park, um, and also Peyton Sawyer from One Tree Hill.
High
So,
praise. High
yeah,
praise.
currently ranked as the 22nd best album of all time on Rate Your Music. Um,
Wow.
this is
Most
probably the
importantly, my number three album of the 1980s.
yeah by
So
AJ Simmons and number one for the 80s for me. This is one of the few albums that like gets the critical acclaim that I also have that kind of, passion about. I don't know if I'm just too contrarian to find that in most albums, but this is just kind of like the the grandfather of the kind of music that I enjoy. I think it's like
Yeah.
the it kind of started like the whole big sounding atmospheric kind of thing, I think. So anyway, Disintegration by The Cure. I don't think I mentioned that.
Oh
That's what
yeah.
we're covering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we hinted at it a lot.
that's true. That's true. Yeah, I think this album really, but before we get into it track by track, like I think you're right saying it's like the godfather of the kind of music that you enjoy. I feel like it did take a lot of uh, the other kind of like lo-fi shoegaze stuff and give it a little bit of a sheen, give it a little bit
hmm
more of like an epic kind of
hmm
sound. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's definitely an important album.
for sure. So I was going to ask your all's history with The Cure. You both obviously have some kind of history with it, but Kylan, kind of where did your journey with The Cure start, and kind of
Um,
how deep have you dug
yeah,
into their
I
catalog?
mean, so they're one of those bands that I've known about my entire life. Like they've just always sort of existed. My dad was like a big new wave guy, and this feels like a little adjacent, like not
Hmm.
exactly new wave, but like
That's
adjacent
fair.
to that.
Yeah.
Because like I grew up with more of like Echo and the Bunnymen, which is also like kind of
Mhm.
similar, or
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
ABC, like bands like that.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Always knew about The Cure. I mean, everyone knows Boys Don't Cry, Friday I'm in Love. And then in high school, I went through like a big kind of shoegaze fan. Got really into like My Bloody Valentine, Jesus and Mary Chain, and of course like the being. Uh, I'm not the resident goth kid because goth kids were a little too scary for me. But I was like goth adjacent.
Hmm.
So, uh, obviously being like, oh, I'm a sensitive emo boy who likes Tim Burton movies. Like, I gotta listen to The Cure. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't think I've listened to everything of theirs, but definitely have listened to this a bunch of times. Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. What's the first one? Three Imaginary Boys. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that the first
Hmm.
one? That
Yeah.
one. And uh, why am I struggling? Hold on, I gotta look it up. Hold on. Pornography.
Hmm.
Pornography. Yeah, I've listened to those quite a few times, but
Okay.
yeah, I like The Cure, man. They're a good band.
Nice. Nice.
Controversial
AJ, what?
take. The Cure, good band.
AJ, what's your history with The Cure?
Um, I knew like in the early 90s and stuff like that, like some of the bigger hits by them, but it wasn't until, funny enough, the I think we talked about this before in the 80s episode, the Wedding Singer soundtrack, until like a bunch of
Mm,
80s stuff like got properly on my radar, including The Cure, and I was hooked. I've probably been listening to this album 25 years, more than that. And so yeah, I've been a fan of them since then. I've seen them live. I like pretty much at least like everything by them. May not be love, but like everything by them. And so yeah, kind of Kylan was joking as like sensitive white boy. Of course, I like Robert Smith.
yeah.
I don't choose between The Cure and the Smiths. I love them both. So, but yeah, been
Okay.
around for 2/3 of my life or more.
Yeah. What about you,
Um,
Eric?
for me, as most things in my musical life somehow ties back to the CCM or Tooth and Nail world. Stavesacre covered Fascination Street on their Speakeasy album. Um,
That's a choice from them.
yeah, yeah. That may have been the first thing that made me think I need to check this band out. Aside, like I'm sure I'd heard like Boys Don't Cry and Just
Right.
Like Heaven and Friday I'm in Love, but never anything that like really made me seek them out. Of course, this was in back before the streaming days, so it wasn't
Right.
as accessible at the time. But that and Anberlin covered Love Song
Hmm.
on their
That's
first
right.
album, Blueprints for the Black Market. Um, so that was kind of what put The Cure on my radar of a band that I needed to check out. And I think I think started coming across their stuff at the Half Price Bookstore where I do a lot of my used CD buying and started slowly accumulating their stuff and kind of just that's how I became hooked. By the time my first daughter was born in 2012, they were one of my favorite bands to the point where I bought a lullaby versions of the Cure song
Nice.
of the Cure's songs and put that on every night when she went to bed to
Hmm.
sleep to. So,
Wait,
uh,
so there exists a lullaby version of Lullaby by The
yeah,
Cure?
yep.
I don't know why, but I love that.
Yeah, it's really good actually.
Hmm.
Now that they've gotten older,
Yeah.
I've stolen it back, and it is
Nice.
now in my CD collection.
Nice.
Hmm.
So this album was released in 1989, produced by Robert Smith and David Allen. Robert Smith did a lot of things: guitars, vocals, keyboards, some bass. Simon Gallup did bass. Paul Thompson guitars, Forrest Williams drums and percussion. Roger O'Donnell keyboards, Lowell Tolhurst credited with other instruments, but if I remember correctly from reading his book that he wrote, I feel like he didn't actually contribute anything to the
Oh,
album. I
interesting.
feel like I read. It's been a few years. Um, in 1989, this was the 35th biggest selling album of the year,
Wow.
certified double platinum, estimated worldwide sales of 4 million.
And it was the
Um,
35th?
yeah, 35th
That's
best selling
wild.
album of
Like the world
1989.
is such a different place now.
Yeah, yeah. So they just released a new album, Songs of a Lost World. I wanted to
Mm,
briefly talk about that.
yeah.
For me, it's going to be very high in my year-end list. I'm already putting it as my third favorite Cure album
Oh,
behind
wow.
Disintegration and Wish. Head on the Door's up there, but right now I've got Songs of a Lost World ahead of it. Um,
Wow.
what are your guys' thoughts on the new album? AJ, I know you said you like about half of it or love half
So
of it.
yeah, I immediately really liked A Fragile Thing, Drone No Drone, All I Ever Am, and I Can Never Say Goodbye. And then one night after the rest of the house went to bed, put on the big headphones and I listened to it. And I like everything else. I don't, it's gonna be in my top 10, I think, for the year. I don't know if it'll be as high as you have it, but I like some of the other tracks that I didn't initially after listening more to it. I think there's some really beautiful things that they do on songs that get missed if you're not fully like locked in and paying
Hmm.
attention. Like the lyrics are like heavy in like a very different way than normal. Like Robert Smith has like realized that he and like everyone he loves is like gonna die
Yeah.
in the not too distant future, and like a level that's like sticking with him as opposed to being just some like fleeting thought, right? Like it is a
Mhm.
heavy album. Like there's lyrics on "And Nothing Is Forever," which is as the memory of the first time in the stillness of a teardrop, as you hold me for the last time in the dying of life. You're like, oh my, that's whew, that hits you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's really great. Uh, but on some of the tracks, I think you do need to have the headphones on to be able to lock into it, and maybe you miss it in the car if you're
Yeah.
listening to it. Which is about right for the Cure. They usually have these like pop
Mhm.
accessible ones that you kind of can listen to in any space, and there's others that you're like, oh, you got to be like in a dark room with some headphones, and like life might be needing to hit you a little bit, but if it does, it strikes hard. And then some of these songs were played live when I saw them. I think you saw them on that same tour,
Yep.
and they were great live.
Hmm.
Which is a point that I have about some other songs on here. Like I think at times the Cure struggles to capture how good the songs are live in the studio.
That's hard to
Or
do for a band in general.
right, yeah,
Like if you're
100%. Yeah. But there's other bands that's the other way around.
right, for sure.
Hmm.
And so yeah, like there were some of the songs I was like, oh yeah, when I heard it, I was like, oh, that was so good live. But yeah, I like it. It's gonna end up in my top 10 somewhere in there. Exactly where I'm not sure yet. I'm still wrestling with about the 2 dozen or so records for my top 10 for the year.
Yeah.
I spent my whole day working on my top 10 albums of the year. So,
Yeah. I got to
uh,
figure that out soon because I think next week we're recording our Church Hymns Now, our top albums of the year episode.
oh, yeah.
And I don't know where I'm gonna land. I don't know if this is gonna make it in my top 10. I know we interacted on Twitter
Hmm.
about this a little bit yesterday because yeah, when I first listened to it, like very first listen, I think I texted y'all in the group chat. I'm like, I think this is gonna make my top 10. Now that I got like a little distance from it, I need to like listen to it again, um, and see how I feel. Uh, but that being very like I don't know, I feel like the beginning of this year I was really scrambling. Like for the first half of the year I was like, "Oh man, am I going to be able to like make a top 10?" And then the second half of this year I'm like, "Oh no, okay, I have the opposite problem now. I have to like narrow a bunch of stuff down."
Right.
Um it's good though.
Okay.
I really like it.
Nice. Um, so back to Disintegration. My predictions for you guys, AJ, I predict 2.75 for you. Um, out of your 0 through 3 scale, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Kylan, I'm going to predict a 3.5 for you on your 5-star scale.
Can I get a little bit of rationale behind that prediction? I'm just
Because there are a lot of long songs on this thing,
Hey,
and
you know
that
me.
is not your preference mostly.
Yeah.
Um, but I
So,
know that
so
when
you think I'm gonna
something
have
is,
all the day holiday higher ranked than Disintegration? Just
I
want to
don't
be
know.
clear about that.
I just feel weird predicting a perfect score for either of you because I don't know. Like I don't know. It's
Is
just
it
like it's hard.
Fair enough.
Um, yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's probably going to be a
all
3 for
right.
you, isn't it?
We'll
Okay.
see. I don't know. I don't know,
All
man.
right.
I don't know. I don't know how it all averages out.
Yeah.
I just have the notes.
He's just
Right.
We'll
saying
see.
words and throwing out numbers. He doesn't even know.
Amen.
Right.
He's like,
All
it's an
right.
11 for me on this one. This one's
Let's
a
go,
Lucky Charms, you know.
Yeah.
let's go to track one, Plain Song. Um, which is anything but plain, in my opinion. Um, Kylan, how do you feel about this song?
Well, okay. Right off the bat, my first note. This
Too
intro is
long.
way too long. But uh similarly to like closing tracks, I'm okay with like the first track being kind of long, right? Like almost like an overture, like before a musical or a film or whatever. It kind of gets you in the zone. I do feel like this is like a little too long, but I like the way that it builds into like the song proper, right? And the delay effect on his vocals is so good. It's just like instantly like super dreamy, atmospheric, real spacey. I love uh the synth bass in there. It's just like that like saw sound, just like oh, and then with
Mhm.
the kind of clean delayed guitar, it's really beautiful. Um, and I just love his voice. His voice is so good, especially for this kind of music. Um, if the intro was a minute shorter, it would be a 4. But as of now, it's a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay. That's another thing about the new album. His voice sounds so good on it. Like
Mm, it
he
really
doesn't
does.
sound like a 64, 65-year-old
No.
Well,
man.
for all we know, this song was recorded like a decade ago.
That's very possible too. Yeah, since it took 16 years to come out.
Right.
Um, AJ, what are your thoughts on this song?
So I think it's such a good opening track for some of the points that like Kylan makes, right? Like it like eases you in that beginning, kind of like wind chimes, and then brings in some of the instruments at about 30 seconds, and then it builds into this like big sonically beautiful tune. So yeah, I really love it as an intro track. I think it'd be weird anywhere else but an intro or maybe a final track, right?
Right.
If you were to do it in the middle, I actually think I'd have more of a reaction
Hmm.
that Kylan has of like, what do you get to it, get to the song. But it's either the final or the beginning. It makes some sense. So I like it. It's a 2.75 out of 3 for me.
Okay. Um, it it's so cinematic that I feel like if the intro wasn't long, it would sound wrong. Like
Right. Right.
Hmm.
I don't know, just for me.
Yeah.
Um, love the way the guitar sounds when it comes in. The opening lyric, I think it's dark and it looks like rain, is a great opening lyric for
And
this
especially because
album.
it ties into other themes
Yes.
Yeah,
on the record.
Yes.
yeah.
Um,
Um, go ahead.
oh, retroactively, I'm realizing now, I do need to bump this up to a 4 out of
Okay,
5.
okay.
And
Um,
I'll explain that reasoning
okay.
a little further on.
Okay. It's a 5-star, 9.7 for me.
Nice.
9.7 is a solid 5-star. Um, yeah, I feel like this is going to be one where a lot of my notes for each song are the same, which is kind of like not exactly the same, but it's it's the big drums, it's the
Yep.
atmosphere,
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
the effects on the guitars. Those are the things that kind of make this album so great to me, and they utilize it on literally every song here. So there's probably going to be a lot of that, but it just means it's done really well.
Yeah.
It is super weird to be talking about an album I've listened to for, like I said, over 25 years. Like, what are your thoughts on Disintegration? It's Disintegration. Like,
Right.
what are your thoughts on
Yeah,
this track? It's Disintegration.
yeah.
Yeah.
What are your notes? Disintegration?
Right.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. My
I've
notes are go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, you
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say my notes are nowhere near as like um robust as I feel
Oh
like
no,
they should be.
they're like a sentence or two for me again, and it's
Yeah.
because I'm so familiar with it.
Yeah.
Right. Guys, this is what I like to call the Church James Now problem. This has happened so many times on Church James Now where it's like it's there are certain albums where it ends up being like it's really hard to talk about critically because it's just so much like in your bones, right? And
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
just like it's just such a part of who you are that
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, you can't, and it feels really frustrating, especially when we're doing like this kind of format and you're like, oh, I need to come to the table with like salient notes,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and all my notes are just like, well, yeah, it's good. Like I don't know what to tell you. It's like, but if we just said that, there would be no show.
Right,
So
right,
like
right.
I understand the struggle. Like it's hard.
Yeah. And there's like even we've been covering like albums that are in my top 30 of all time. And compared to the ones we've covered, this is even a tier above anything else we've ever covered. This is,
Yeah.
spoiler alert, this is a top tier album for me. And I find that albums like that are even harder, really, for me to articulate
Yeah,
why I
exactly.
love them so
Hmm.
much
Yeah.
because, like, it's synonymous with who I am.
Hmm.
Well, it's also hard because, like, I genuinely probably listened to this record like 200 times in my
Yeah.
life,
Right.
right? Like, I don't think that's an exaggeration either. And so, like, uh, it's baked in. Like you
Right.
said, it's in
Yeah.
your
And
bones.
and
Like,
you know, like you've listened to it through like so many different periods of your life, different
yes,
emotional states, that it's all
yes.
just like soaked in with all of these different like uh, emotional memories, right? You know, like it's hard
Hmm.
to parse that out in a way
Mm,
that makes sense for like
right.
for a show.
100%. I've been listening to like YouTube videos and podcasts that have covered this album, and I find
Hmm.
myself like getting so frustrated with
Yeah.
them that I can't get through them. This album is so beloved to me that like I just like I cringe at some of the things that people find problems with. But
Yeah.
one of those, track number two, Pictures of You, someone was very hates this song was the word that they used.
Well,
That's
I don't
wild.
like
So
them. They're not my
yeah,
friend.
no, I cannot see eye to eye with this person clearly.
Hmm.
Um, so AJ, what do you think about this song?
I have like that opening is so iconic, right? You hear that, and if
Hmm.
you've heard this before, you immediately know what it is, right?
Mm.
And I shouldn't like a 7.5 minute song. I shouldn't, right? But I really, really do. They keep it moving, they keep it evolving, which keeps it interesting for me. It's not the same stuff over and over again. It's this beautiful song about like longing for someone that maybe you screwed up with,
Hmm.
um, which I think at 37 I can relate to at some
Yeah.
point in my life. I think anybody as you get older can kind of look back and relate to something like that. Right. So I really love this. I think it's probably my third favorite track on the album.
Nice.
And it is, I'm gonna go ahead and say a three.
Okay.
Sweet.
And
I
now
love
Kylan's
it.
Kylan?
gonna swing in and hate it.
It's
Guess what, guys? This is a
your favorite
five
song
out
on the
of
album.
five. It is my favorite song on the album. A 5 out of 5.
There
Take
you
away
go.
my CJN Chaos Goblin card. Yes, it is 7.5 minutes. Yes, that is insane.
There should be
Uh,
like three songs for you.
Yeah.
right, right. Uh, ideally, you could cut this into 6 different songs.
There is a radio edit that's on
Mhm.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
I think it's on the greatest hits album, I think.
But I love this song.
Mhm.
Everything AJ was saying, like, it's wild that the vocals come in 2 minutes in, but
Mhm.
like, I don't, I think you know, I do tend to prefer the more like pop rock side of the Cure, but
100%, yeah.
I I like the sort of like shoegazy spacey thing, and this is like a perfect blend of the two.
Mhm.
Because like it's a little more up tempo, it's a little more aggressive, like the mix is a little more aggressive. They do a really good job. Something I think is not talked about enough with The Cure is so many of their lines are really simple.
Mhm.
Um, like their lead guitar lines are just like eighth notes, but then they have this real like melodic tension with the bass that keeps it really interesting. Like everyone's not playing the same notes. They're playing notes that are kind of discordant, and it makes it like really interesting to the ear, and once
Mhm.
you
Mm,
like it makes you want to keep listening. Um yeah, I think that yeah, this is 5 out of 5.
awesome. Um, it's almost a jam band like song,
Yeah. Yeah,
except
yeah.
with a very different vibe than
Right.
that. It's catchy, but it's not hooky,
Right.
which I think keeps you from getting tired of it. I think, at least for me. There's almost like no real choruses on this album. There are lines kind of like Pictures of You that are repeated
Right.
in some of the songs, but there's not like a super melodic chorus, I don't think, anywhere on the album, which is
Right.
crazy. The song reached number 71 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart,
Nice.
which it's just blows my mind that music like this used to chart.
Yeah.
This
It's
would not be a
not
TikTok video. I'm sorry. It's
no.
not gonna be popular on the TikToks.
It's a 9.75 star for me.
Wait, do we have an
Um,
Amy Grant?
oh, we do. It's an Amy Grant.
Yeah.
All
Hey.
There it
right.
is.
Our first live Amy Grant, which is where
Yes.
we all give a song the highest
Highest.
possible
Yes.
score.
Oh, that's so rad.
Nice. Um, very cool. I'm curious if there will be any more on this album. Let's go to track 3, Close Down. AJ, what do you think about this one?
I love those drums.
Yeah.
And it's so good live. And I like the bass as well, right? I love the lyrics. They're introspective, they're sad, they're just really lovely. You know, Robert Smith delivers all his lines so earnestly,
Hmm.
right? That you like can't help but like feel it, right? Like I think there's other artists delivering these same lines. You're like, yeah, whatever. But you feel like everything he's saying. Um, but yeah, this is another great one. It's a 2.75 out of 3 for me. But those drums, they're so good right there at the beginning, especially like I said
Yeah.
live, especially live in a big arena. And I hate
Oh
Oh
yeah.
arena
yeah.
shows, and this was so
Yeah.
good live.
Yeah, they
I'm sure. Yeah.
best arena show I've ever been to. And
100%,
I had
100%.
terrible seats and in the most uncomfortable arena I've ever been in. Like you had to keep your legs like clenched together the whole time because it
Uh,
was so tight. But I didn't care because it was such an amazing show. Kylan, what do you think about this song?
Unfortunately, I do not care for this one. 2.5 out of
Okay.
5.
All right.
This one's a little too repetitive for me. And I fully understand. I think had I had the live experience, I can see my perception of this like changing in real time. And
Yeah.
that's happened to me for quite a few bands. Like Fleet Foxes. I used to like I did not get Fleet Foxes until I saw them live. And I was like, "Oh, I get it." And it completely changed my perception of the band.
Hmm.
I unfortunately have never seen The Cure live. Um and I really love the drums in the intro, but then like I j- I think I just wanted like a little more movement in this song. Like I wanted it to go someplace else
Yeah.
at a certain point.
I I do think it's one of the weaker songs on this album. Still a 5 star for me.
No,
9.6. So
that's pretty
barely
good.
barely a 5 star. Um, I like I like I like the lyrics on it a lot. To feel
Hmm.
again the real belief of something more than mockery, if only I could fill my heart with love. Um, it correlates a real belief with a
Mm,
heart full of love, which sounds like a pretty Christian concept, really.
Hmm.
Um, though they're not trying to say that they are Christians, but that's
right.
kind of a
It's something that
something that you
you personally can relate to
right, right,
based
Hmm.
right.
on your
Yeah.
Makes
experience.
sense.
And I love the bass, love the drums, rinse and repeat for every song on here. Um,
Yeah.
so let's go to the big single of the album, track 4, Love Song. Um, Kylan, thoughts on this one?
Uh, I think the best bass line on the record is on this song. Um, and okay, I know this is like a really big Cure song for people. I fall pretty in the middle on it. Um, which is funny because it's pretty contradictory to what I just said of like I like the more like pop rock
Yeah.
Cure.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I don't know if I can articulate exactly what it is. Um, uh, I love the bass. This song is like it's okay. I think maybe they've like done similar things but better on other albums and maybe even on this album. I give this a 3 out of 5. Like
Okay.
it's it's good. I'm here for it, but I
Have
don't
you heard have you heard 311's cover of this album? Or of
no
this song?
no
You haven't. Have you heard
no.
Anberlin's cover of this song?
I have
Okay. Do you prefer it to the recorded version or the
no
original version? Okay.
no. I have I have a complicated relationship with Anberlin covers in general, which is something we can
There's a lot
maybe
of them.
talk about on another episode.
Okay.
Yeah, some of their covers I think are absolutely incredible. Some of their covers I think are absolutely atrocious. Um, I
But
think their
isn't that
cover,
every like Amberland is that for me? So like, this is great, or no, 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 no,
yeah,
no,
yeah, it's like
not for
no, what are
me.
you doing? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
maybe it's like a little too uh like Eastern European folk for me. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I can't put my finger on why the song doesn't fully connect with me. But
Thought maybe you're just more of a 311 guy. Hey,
oh, really? That's what you think of me?
no,
I'm
it
more
was,
of a 311 guy.
it was a
Okay,
I'll,
cool.
joke.
Glad to know
I'll
where I
actually
stand.
like the 311 version of this song is actually pretty solid.
Yeah, it's
I'll
not
say
bad.
that.
I'm
I'll say
sure it
that.
is. I'm sure it is. That's
Mm.
just
Hey,
funny. Yeah, I've never in my entire life had anyone even consider calling me more of a 311 guy. That's really funny.
Your reaction is when somebody was like, "Oh, you really like Paramore to me." I was like, "What?" They're like, "You're a Paramore guy, right?" I was like,
That's
"No."
so funny. Yeah. Yeah.
AJ, what do you think of the song?
I mean, this is a classic tune, right?
Yeah.
You know it as soon as it starts. It's got that like guitar riff that plays throughout that I really dig. I love like the overall theme of it, right? Of like getting lost in the person that you love and that like how great it is for you, how comfortable it is, how they're always gonna have a piece of you. I mean, there's a reason it's a classic for them, right? Like this has got to be one of their most popular songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a 3 out of 3 for me.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a 5 star, 9.9 for me. It's in my top 100 songs of all time. Um,
I
really,
get it,
like,
guys, too. Like I'm
yeah.
okay being wrong. Like I I understand why it's a like beloved song.
Yeah. I mean, and it's still crazy that this song hit number 2 on the Hot 100 chart. So that's the pop chart. Like
Right.
this was the number
Yeah.
2 most popular song in the country at one time, which it's just wild to me. I don't see
Do you know how
any.
many mixtapes probably had this song, like college white boy mixtapes for girls
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
in the late 80s, early 90s, and probably even, let's be real, I know of at least one floating around from the early 2000s.
Uh, yeah, I don't have a whole lot of notes on it. It's just
Mm-mm.
a great song,
It's
classic.
classic. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to track five, Last Dance. Was not on the I guess the original release of the album.
Oh.
Uh, Last Dance and Homesick were both added later, I guess, or were on like a longer version. I don't know exactly the events there, but has been a
One of those two
consistent
could have
part of the
been left
track
off.
list. Uh-oh.
We'll get to that
this,
one.
uh AJ, what do you think about Last Dance?
I shockingly dig the spaciness of this,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm pretty clearly like I struggle with shoegaze type stuff and like spacey stuff. Even like bands I really like, of course, like The Cure here, the Pumpkins and others, when they get too spacey for me, it just
I
can't hold my attention.
So, okay, I have a question for you, AJ, because I feel like you may fall similarly to me. Like, do you like because I've had so many conversations with Josh Olson from Church James Now about this. Uh, I like shoegaze more in theory than
Mhm.
I do in practice. I'm like, I think I really love shoegaze, and then I get like I get really like into shoegaze, and then I'm like, oh no, these are all too long and too slow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a weird, awkward white guy, right? Of course I should like shoegaze.
Mhm.
But it takes like the really good shoegaze stuff I like. But on average, I'm not probably gonna like a shoegaze song or spacey song, whatever term you kind of want to
Right.
use, right? I really like this one though. I really like that it's like this reflective tune, like how you see the person different later on, right? But you still deeply love them. So that's pretty cool. It's very mature. It's again one that maybe has grown with me as a person, as I've gotten older. Um, but 2.75 out of 3.
Cool.
Nice.
Kylan?
Okay. This is gonna sound like an odd note. My first big note is like
Not spacey enough.
well, it feels a little too spooky for me.
No.
But
Ooh,
like not the
maybe
kind
that's
of
why I like
spooky
it.
that I like. It's almost like it's like a little like haunted house spooky for me.
Do you have a similar note on the next song by the chance?
Well,
Okay,
we'll talk.
we'll get
We'll
there.
we'll
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 get
get
there.
there.
Okay.
We'll get there. Um, yeah, I gave this a 3 out of 5. I think the intro
Okay.
was like, especially and we'll get into where I start to feel fatigued on this record later on. I think this intro was like too long.
Mhm.
Um, the phaser on the guitar just starts to get to me after a while.
Oh, I love it.
Um, I like. I've only very recently like gotten into like being okay with a phaser in general.
Mm.
So this is like a little too much for me.
Okay.
So 3 out of 5, still good.
Okay. It's 5 star, 9.8 for me. It's in my
Mm.
top 250. There, there's a case for it to potentially be my favorite song.
Oh wow.
I'm going with Love Song, but
Okay.
this one has a case. I really love the phaser sound.
Hmm.
Drums sound huge and great,
Hmm.
and it's just I just think it sounds really great, and it's just kind of the vibe that I really
Yeah.
gravitate towards. Um, so let's go to track six, Lullaby. Kylan, what are your thoughts on this one? Is this one too spooky?
Well, no, here's what's so funny. I'll send you guys a screenshot of this. My first note is this is the right amount of spooky.
See, I have one that's like this is a like the song that creeps me out the most.
Yeah.
On the album in a very different way than the rest do.
Yeah, it's freaky. Um, you know, on candy striped legs, the Spider-Man comes.
Yeah,
I do
I have these written out. I have these same lyrics.
I do in my head like to imagine it's like Marvel's Spider-Man, uh, as opposed to the Spider-Man. Um,
Does this go on your spider playlist?
It does. It does. I think yeah, because I think we had a conversation about this, and then
Okay.
I think I ended up adding it. Yeah, it totally makes my spider playlist. Um, I like okay, so the fake synth strings. There are times on this album where it like really bugged me. For some reason in this song, it was like perfect, especially like the pizzicato strings that doot, 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 doot. Like I love it. I think it's so good. And yeah, I think because of where this lands on the album, them sort of bringing a different energy,
Hmm.
um, it's like it's real groovy. That da 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 da. It's almost like a police groove.
Mm-hmm.
But then paired with like the spookiest lyrics of all time, I'm like, yeah, dude, I love this song. This is a 4 out of 5 for me.
Cool. AJ?
I have the note, it's unsettling and intense. Like when you start like listening to the lyrics, right? Like I've seen different interviews and interpretations that pretty much amount to this like not being a happy song and definitely a heavy one.
Mhm.
But it is good. It is just it does throw you, and that's what I mean by it being like sort of creeped out a little bit, unsettling. It feels like a different energy than anything else on the album.
Hmm.
I really like it, but and I do have that section of lyrics that you were quoting in
Yeah.
my notes too. Right? Like stealing past the windows of the blissfully dead, looking for the victim shivering in bed. Like that's something.
Hmm.
But again, another 2.75 out of 3 for me.
The music video makes makes it even more like enjoyable for me because I don't
Yeah.
know, for some reason the attempt to bring a visualization of this is just freaking crazy.
Right.
But the one of the few irks I have about this, Kylan, is kind of what you said. Like you imagine it is Spider-Man. I wish they would have thought of another name than the
Right.
Spider-Man
Then the Spider-Man. Yeah.
because I mean it's such a cultural
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
thing that's like it's like singing a song about the Star Wars.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, and
No, not
yeah.
that Star Wars. So
No, these are different Star Wars.
yeah.
Well, like
But yeah,
even with the lyrics, like Shadow Man, I think would have
Right.
been
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
yeah,
Here
yeah.
we are criticizing Robert
That's
Smith's
like
Yeah. I
lyrics.
that's
know.
one of the very few like things that I would tweak about the album. But
Right.
it's still a 5 star, 9.6 because of the Spider-Man thing. It's barely a 5 star.
Hmm.
Um, it hit number 74 on the Hot 100, and I continue to be amazed by the chartings of these.
Yeah.
And
I know.
I think it
That's
was the
insane.
lead single in the UK.
That's a
Yeah,
choice.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. The strings, like you mentioned, sound really cool. I one of the interpretations I've seen is that it, I guess, or maybe the literal interpretation is that he's like sleep paralyzed while a Spider-Man is eating him or whatever. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced sleep paralyzation, but on its own, it's one of the most terrifying things
Right.
that
For
I've
sure.
ever experienced.
Yeah. Yeah.
My particular incident, there was somebody standing outside my window shooting me, but I couldn't
Oof.
move.
Ugh.
But I felt like I was awake, and it was just like I'll never forget it. It
Yeah.
sucked.
That is
I felt I could have had a heart attack.
Hmm.
terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Okay, can I bring forth okay, I no, I don't know how to talk about this. Do we think that musically, sonically, uh this song did as well as it did because it was sort of uh a response to the death of disco.
hmm.
Uh, I okay. See, we can cut all this. I don't know. Man, I'm processing all of this as I'm saying it, but so many of these like string parts in this song are incredibly reminiscent of like classic disco synth string lines.
That's a good point. I had not considered.
Um, but it comes so far like after disco is like kind of over, but like, like punk rock generally is like accepted as like the death of disco, right? Like when
Yeah.
that became popular. So this was far enough removed that uh it feels like a little bit of a response to that, but then it's like, hey, let's take these like classic disco elements, but let's add some like really creepy stuff to it. I don't know. I That doesn't need a
I
response necessarily. I guess I just had to get that thought out of my
it
brain.
makes sense when you explain it. If this had come out like you said, closer to the actual death of disco,
Yeah.
it'd
I
be
don't know,
pretty
man.
convincing.
I don't know.
Um, okay. Uh, let's
So
go
That
anyway,
that's the exact response I needed that.
I I liked hearing that though, Kylan.
Okay.
Don't let
that
us
was yeah,
shame
no,
you
yeah, that
into
All
was
not
right.
different.
sharing these
Yeah,
That's
heck
why I'm
yeah.
here. That's why I'm here. I guess. I don't know.
I don't know if that's the most bizarre thing that any of the three of us have said, to be fair. So,
Let's go to track 7, Fascination Street. Um, AJ, what do you think about this one?
oh, I mean, I dig this song a lot, right? Like this, the way it starts out, yeah, this bass line at the start, like it's grooving. It says right, but like again,
Right.
the drums, the bass on this are so good. It like it's catchy, kind of you can sway to it at like a goth night at a club or something like that. Um,
Yep.
yeah, it's such a good song, and again, like lyrically it's really different. Like it's very strange to me that this was covered by Steve
The
Saker.
music. Yeah.
Like how of all of the songs of the Cures, it's this one. Considering the content of
Mhm,
it. But yeah, like again, this is another like iconic one. You know this.
mhm,
And that's one of the things I think is amazing about The Cure, right? Like they range so much in their sound and they do such a good job of like earworm music
Hmm.
that you know, even if you don't know every album by The Cure or whatever, you're like, this is The Cure.
mhm.
Right.
And so yeah, this is another 2.75 out of 3 for me.
Cool.
Kylan?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I love how aggressive this song starts, and
Mm-hmm.
it is really interesting because this is like the first point in the record where the bass and the drums, which, we've talked about a lot, are like so good,
Mm-hmm.
are still so good, but they're so different. Like the
Yes.
mix is entirely different.
Yes.
The snare sounds completely different. It's almost that like it's a little bit like grungy. The
Mm-hmm.
way that those two instruments are mixed, whereas everything else still kind of sits in the same space.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and I think at this point in the record, like it really needed a song like this. I give this a 4 out of 5.
Cool. Yeah, this also has a pretty good case that it could be my favorite song on the album.
Yeah.
Love one of my favorite bass lines ever, just like you said, in the way it kind of interacts with the drums. Um, you said grunge, but it also kind of gives me like post-hardcore vibes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Um,
For sure.
I feel like The Cure is a band that people who are really into post-hardcore would have have some, easy, especially Wish, I feel like is would be an easy record to get into, even though it's
Yeah.
definitely not a post-hardcore
Mm-hmm.
album. There's so many elements that kind of remind me of that genre.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The song
Yeah,
hit number.
like
Go ahead.
I'm surprised there aren't more like thrice covers of Cure songs, right?
Yeah,
Like there
for
I would
aren't.
sure.
love to hear a thrice
Yeah,
cover of a Cure
Mhm.
song.
yeah, yeah. This hit number 46 on the Hot 100. Um,
Again, you can dance to. You kind of get that, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yep. Uh, I don't remember if I said 5 star, 9.8 in my top 250 favorite songs. Um,
it's good.
let's go to track 8, Prayers for Rain. Kylan?
Okay. This song is so long. This is where I start to get a little fatigued by the runtime.
Okay.
Um, uh, but I don't know. I've been struggling with how to like articulate this because in some ways I think this album is like almost perfectly sequenced. And in some ways, I think it's like a little too much. And like this song is where like I start to feel like it's a little too much. Like I think we've talked about this before, like where it's hard for me to like parse out individual rankings of songs
Mhm.
like without giving the context of the full album. Because AJ, you talked about how like you'll listen to an album and then put songs on random to see if you feel differently about them. That's just something that like my brain is not able to do. Uh, but I really think like if I had heard this song like just on its own, it would have a different score than it has at track 8, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
track 8 on this album.
Mhm.
To me, it feels a little too long. Um, but I still just love his voice. I just his it's I believe every single word that he sings. I did give this a
That's
3.5 out of 5.
okay. AJ?
This is a track that I didn't realize how much I liked until I heard it live,
Mm,
right? Because this sounded again like really great in that big arena show. I really love the synths that come in at like the 1 minute mark of the song. I think it's a good tune. The vocals are great and kind of like haunting here. I get that little synth noise. I really like that. I don't know if that's supposed to be like strings or something,
mhm.
but I dig that. It's another 2.75 out of 3 for me.
Cool. It's a 5 star, 9.7 for me. I just think it sounds great. Sounds fresh and unique, which is kind of crazy since it came out in 1989.
Yeah.
But it's just another one that sounds great to me. Yeah, maybe like probably not the album to listen to, like if you've got somewhere to go pretty soon or something. But um,
Yeah, no.
but
Well,
when I'm just
yeah.
like vibing in the album, like the length of these songs don't bother me at
Yeah.
all. Um, so yeah, that's we're gonna get into a couple even longer songs. Track
Hmm.
9, The Same Deep Water as You. AJ, what do you think about this one?
So it takes a while to get to Robert Smith singing on this one, right?
Yeah.
And I think it hurts the song for me a little bit. Just too long. But I love the lyrics. I love Smith's delivery. Again, we've talked several times now that he's just very earnest. It's like this really intense, difficult, like love story, right? Like you know the person's bad for you, like you love them anyway. You've accepted the love's probably gonna destroy you and it's not gonna work out. Like it's just soul crushingly beautiful.
Mhm.
It's just a little too long for me. So I think this is a 2.5 out of 3 for me.
All right. Kyle?
Okay, so to go back to my previous point where in ways I think this album is sequenced perfectly,
Mm.
uh I thought it was super cool to have The Same Deep Water as You come right after Prayers for Rain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Start with like the rain sound effects. But
Mhm.
I also agree with AJ that like it took a little too long to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
But man, like thematically, I love the idea of like, yeah, being in that relationship where it's like it's not quite right. And then especially coming after like I've been praying for this. Like I'm hoping for rain, like I need water in my life, and then it's like, oh no, this is
Now I'm
maybe a little
drowning.
too much. um
Love that.
I think is really cool.
Hmm.
um but musically it starts to stagnate a little bit for me. This is another 3.5 out of 5 for me.
Okay. It's a 9.7, 5 star for me.
Nice.
Love the drums and percussion stuff. I don't know what that little like kind of echoey drum thing is, that they does after
Yeah.
some of the hits. I don't know what that
I
is,
think
but I love
it's
it.
just like a delay effect, just like on the
Okay.
snare.
Yeah. I think it sounds great. Love that.
Hmm.
Pretty depressing song, but incredibly
Hmm.
beautiful. That's all I got on that one. Let's go to track 10, Disintegration. Kylan, what do you think about this one?
This was almost my favorite, which is wild because it's 8.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
And my favorite is 7.5 minutes. And I feel like if the Church Jams Now guys hear this, they're gonna be so mad at me. Um, like I will never live it down. But okay. Uh this song just like rules. Like
Mhm.
once again, the mix on the bass is like a little bit different. It's a little more aggressive. Um, it's got that sort of like upbeat, dancey kind of thing. Um, I do think uh, this needed to be like the penultimate track. Like, I don't think you needed two tracks after this.
Mhm.
You just needed one. Um, but I did give this song 4 out of 5.
AJ?
So this is like this weirdly dancey track about like growing disillusioned in a relationship that's struggling, right? Like it's like this
Yeah.
midlife or mid-relationship existential crisis track that is like very beautiful but very bleak. The music is great. It holds your attention. Again, it's long and it holds your attention. It's catchy. It makes you want to move, but like in the midst of this absolute emotional meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is what this is everything the Cure does well at their very best.
Yep.
It should have been the last track on the album. Disintegration should have ended with Disintegration. When I was younger, Love Song was my favorite song on this album. This is now my favorite song on this album. And it
Nice.
again, shocking considering the length.
Yeah, yeah.
Like only The Cure could get me to be like so like an 8 minute song is your
Yep.
favorite?
Right.
Yeah.
For somebody that thinks like a 4 minute song is often far too long.
Yep.
But yeah, this is my favorite on the album, 3 out of 3.
Awesome. I uh I love whatever those creepy distorted kid sounding voices are that come
Hmm.
in at like 441, I think is the first like instance of it. I just think they'll sound really cool and like I don't know, reminds me of like 80s like scary movies for some
Yeah.
reason.
Hmm.
Um it's a 5 star, 9.8 for me. Another one that's in my top 250. I love the lyric songs about happiness, murmured in dreams. I feel like is a pretty good description of a lot of the Cure songs, especially like, just like Heaven. I feel like that's a
Right.
good description of that
Hmm.
song. So
So
yeah,
Okay,
this is
five
okay.
star for me. Go ahead.
hold on. Is my point 0.5 the only thing holding us back from a second Amy Grant?
Yes, I was gonna say this is a Sandy Patty then, right?
Well, okay. No, I got okay, especially because like we're listening to it right now as we're talking about it. I- Is that okay? Is that all right
Yes.
with everyone if I make this an Amy Grant? Because I
Go
think,
If
ahead.
you
yeah,
think it
dude, this song
deserves
is
it.
it does. It really does. This song
Okay.
is so good. It's
All
only
right.
yeah, it's only tarnished by the fact that there are two like extremely long songs after it.
So that's not
But
this fault. It's the
but
fault of
that's
those
not
songs.
exactly. So you know what? I'm gonna take some points away from some other songs
Okay.
later on in the record to give this one the 5 stars so we can get another two
Uh,
Amy Grants
Amy
on one
Grant's
Two
on one
record. I
record.
think
immigrants. That
yes, this song
that's
deserves
our
it. I'm
that's
standing
our
by it.
first two Amy Grant in one
Yes.
episodes.
Yes.
I think our other Amy Grants are Autumn by All the Day Holiday
Mm.
and In the Woodshop by Falling Up. I
Hmm.
think those
So
were our
currently half
only
of our
other
Amy
two.
Grants are the
Yes,
Cure.
half of our Amy Grants are The Cure.
I accept that. I'm more
Yeah,
than happy with that.
I'm all right with that, yeah.
yeah. Awesome.
Sweet.
All right, let's go to track 11,
Hold on, did we
Homesick.
get your
Oh,
score?
did we do mine?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
five
Oh, we did?
star,
Okay.
9.8.
Okay,
Yep.
just making
Yeah.
sure, sorry.
Thank you. Track 11, Homesick. And the other song that was kind of added to some of the releases and is at this point a fixture on the album.
Right.
AJ, is this one that I believe you alluded to thinking should maybe not be here?
This and the next one should not be on this album.
Okay.
Um, go ahead, Kylan, challenge
Well,
me on this.
I think if this song was half the length,
Mm-hmm. But
thi-
it's not.
this, no, I know. Like like I personally think if like Disintegration stick to that length. If Homesick was 3.5 minutes as like a come down from Disintegration, that would be like the perfect way to end this album, right? To like give you a chance to breathe, just like it's like got that really nice twinkly piano. You can kind of like take some time, but then it gets a little overindulgent by being
I
7
have that note.
freaking minutes long.
As much as I love the previous track, right, and see it as the Cure at the very best, my note is that this is the Cure at their most self-indulgent.
It
I
just it
still, I
just
still like it.
it just needed to be like 3 minutes long. It's like a
Right.
come down from Disintegration and then perfect
We're
album.
good. But
Yeah.
I still like it. I think it's beautiful musically, but I have to be in the right like frame of mind to listen to it, or I get bored courtesy of the old ADHD, right?
Right.
It's wonderful background music, or should be like background music for a film, but as a track on a normal album, it's a bit of a challenge for me. And I'm saying that while giving it a 2 out of 3. That is my harshest criticism of a Cure track, and it's
Yeah.
still a 2 out of 3.
Okay. Uh, Kylan, I know you gave some of your thoughts. You got anything else?
Yeah, I'll put this at a 3.5 because
Okay.
it's too long.
This is
It could have been a 4. Could have been a 4 if it was half the length.
this is my least favorite song on the album. The only one I'm giving a 4.5 to, but
Okay.
it's still a 9.5. Like I've tried to talk myself into it being a 5. It's so close, but
Yeah.
I just the vibe is I guess a little bit off from the rest of the album, I think, where it's a little more like the piano, the drums don't sound
It
as
yeah. It
many
feels like a
effects.
postlude
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
Disintegration. And it feels like
Hmm.
it just should have been, a 2 minute, maybe 3 minute
Hmm.
long.
Like this part
Even
right here is
even
really
just like
great.
the instrumental part, like
Yeah.
just end the album with that. Just like
Yeah.
Yeah.
have it kind of fade out. Everyone walks away happy.
Like for
Uh,
the Cure, with something like this playing in the background, it would almost make sense to have this playing while someone is like wailing or screaming
Right.
almost over this, like horror movie kind of like fade to black screaming
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
while this is playing, which
yeah.
is super weird, but I think would actually fit this album and fit the Cure.
Yeah, for sure.
But it does have the lyric, "My eyes are bursting hearts in a bloodstained sky," and you cannot sing that to an emo kid and not have it resonate every ounce of my being. So,
That's true.
um,
That's
Right.
true.
No.
yeah, almost a 5, but can't quite get there. Uh, Track 12, Untitled. Kylan, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I like I said, I think Disintegration needed to be like mostly the end, and then I was able to like give Homesick like a little bit of like residual love from Disintegration. This by this point though, Homesick being 7 minutes long, I'm like, why is this on here?
Mhm.
So this is where I'm gonna take away that point 0.5. So this is a
Fair.
2.5 out of
All
5.
right.
So I can
Fair.
give that retroactively to Disintegration.
That'll work. All right, AJ.
I think this is a track for me that I have to be in like the right mood for, right? Like this is good, like reflective music. And so at times it's a little too spacey for me. It's unfocused at times. So again, another 2 out of 3 for me. I, so yeah, if this was off the album, it would not hurt it one bit. I know probably with this and our comments on Homesick, like there is some shoegaze person like screaming while listening to this right now.
Right.
uh yeah, I love the drums on this song so much. Like I can't like hear them and not like play the beat with my slapping my tongue against the rest of my mouth
Yeah, yeah.
while it's playing. Uh it's a 5 star, 9.7 for me. Love the lyric that kind of sounds almost Christian again, down on my knees and my hands in the air again.
Yeah.
Uh can relate to
Yeah,
that a few times in my life.
I think part of it is the fact that it's just called Untitled. Like it does make it feel like it was kind of thrown
It's just
on
afterthought,
here.
yeah.
I'm just like, well, then why? Like,
Why is
why?
it
But
Like,
there?
this one was actually on the original release though.
yeah, I know.
Why?
But like, there's something about having like your last track called Untitled that,
Yeah.
regardless of like artistic intent, the way that that is perceived by an audience, it does just feel like, I don't know, we got something else, we don't have a name for it, just throw it on last minute, even if
Yeah.
like even if that wasn't what was intended. Like I don't know, I would feel more okay with like a track 5 being called Untitled. Then there's
Okay.
something about the last track, and there's something psychologically
Like
right
you've given
about
up
that.
almost. Like it's called the last
Yeah,
track. Like it's not that
yeah,
hard.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I don't know if y'all had a chance to listen to any of the B-sides or not, but they were really in the zone in this recording because Too Late and Fear of Ghosts are both incredible songs that I think would have fit in just fine on the album. Out of
Right.
Mind and Babel are solid B-sides. So AJ, what are your final thoughts and rating on this album?
So it's 3 out of 3 album for me, right? I don't think it averages out to be that, but we talk about like you look at holistically at the album, the impact,
Yeah.
how long you've been listening to it, all that sort of stuff. And so this is a 3 out of 3 of all of our stuff that we've listened to so far. This is my favorite.
Okay.
It's a very heady album, right? Like it puts you in this very like introspective, like longing, dreamlike state, like the weight of existence and like love and your decisions is like weighing heavy on you while you're trying to sleep.
Right.
Mhm.
And so it's a really beautiful album. It's Disintegration, as I said at one point. Like, so yeah, it's a 3 out of 3 for me.
Nice.
Awesome. Kylan, what are your final thoughts and
Um,
rating?
yeah. Okay. I don't know exactly. I don't know if the math adds up, right? But you
It's okay.
predicted a 3.5, right?
Yep. Hmm.
And unfortunately, like I think this does kind of land there. I mean, I had two 5 stars. I also had two 2.5, which
Uh,
is 2.5 the lowest I've given anything at this point, or did I give anything a
well,
2?
I feel like you've given
I
things
feel
a
like I've heard some twos.
two.
Okay. Because I don't think
Um,
anything got down to a 2 for me.
Let me check. Trying to find the Evans Blue one.
That's probably the most
Yeah.
likely.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's see. You gave a two to one of the songs on
Okay. Cool.
the Evans Blue album, but that is your lowest.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think just taking like some of the highest highs, but also some of the lowest lows so far, like this has seemed like the most like I feel like so far on these albums I've lived in that like 3 to 4 range.
Hmm. Yeah.
And this has had almost like the most sort of disparity between songs. So I think that ends up unfortunately coming out to like a 3.5.
Okay.
Um, I want to give it a 4 because I really did enjoy this. It's just funny, like I've talked about like so many times, like how the things that I'm dealing with in my life like affect how
Mhm.
I
Hmm.
rate an album.
Right.
And because this one took so long from when we first like talked about it
Yeah.
to when we've actually recorded this, I've had so many different experiences emotionally listening to this record. Like there were times where I was like, yes, I am all in. This record's amazing. And then there were also times where I'm like, this is too long. This is boring. This is the worst thing I've ever listened to. So I think it has to average out to 3.5.
Okay.
Or yeah, I don't want to get into 7.5s and 2.5s. So I think at 3.5, but this is definitely like worth a listen. Well, okay. I may bump it up to a 4 given the context of other albums
Okay,
you've
yeah,
talked about.
okay, so your 3.5s, Small Town Poets, which we was our most recent episode.
Mhm.
Luna Halo, you gave a 3.5 to. 4 stars, you gave Keith Sweat, All Star United, Benjamin Daniel.
Okay, I think I got to give this a 4. I think I
Okay.
think I think it sits within that like Benjamin Daniel level for me.
Okay. So would you put it ahead of All Star United and before Benjamin Daniel or ahead?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay. All right. I will tentatively put it between those
Yeah.
two. Um, okay. For me, it is a 5 star. My I haven't been talking about like my rating on productions and album links and all these other things that I do kind of in my notes. But I give this a perfect score for production,
Mm.
perfect 10. So the average of all of my ratings that I give comes out to a 9.753. This is the first album we've covered with a score over 9.75. Won't be the last,
Oh,
but it
wow.
is one of the few.
Nice.
So this is going to be way up there on my all-time list. Y'all want to decide on which one to cover next now, or do you want to
Yeah, let's
do
do it.
that
Yeah.
in a
Yeah,
little
let's
bit?
do it. I like doing this on the air.
Okay. Um, see, we've still got, let me start from the bottom and move up. All right, we did Evans Blue, we did Odd Eye Circle, we've got The Hammering Process by Living Sacrifice, Americana by Starflyer 59, Divine Discontent by Sixpence None the Richer, Riviera by Shadow Shadow, which is like a dark synth pop album, North by Log, which is a very wintry album, The Artist in the Ambulance by Thrice, No Name Face by Lifehouse, The Moon is Down, Further Seems Forever, Much Afraid, Jars of Clay, uh, Live the Life, Michael W. Smith, The Everglow, May, Young Ocean, self-titled, Skyer, Postal Yonin, and then Waves by Moving Mountains, Hours by Falling Up, Your Sparkling Death Cometh by Falling Up.
Mm.
Any of those particularly stand out to either of you?
Before I lose the thought on this, I think
Yeah.
Everglow is the last one we do of
Okay.
Yeah,
all of these.
I think so.
Okay.
We save the
That'll work.
namesake for the
Okay.
very
Yep.
last of all of
Yep.
these.
All right. That'll work.
So I wanted to get that
That's a
thought
good
out.
thought. Yeah.
That'll work. If you're wanting to do a shorter album, Kylan, uh, Riviera is only 9 tracks and they're like synth pop songs, so it's only 36 minutes long. Um,
I
You've
love
teased
that.
him with that one several times. You have. You've
Let's
been
do
like, we got
it.
this.
Let's do it. Come on, let's do it.
but we also need to talk about when we're going to do the Jars of Clay album,
Right.
because I know you're also probably going to be doing
Well,
that on
there
Church
there
Jams
there
now.
are a couple on your list that I
Okay.
know will be Church Jams Now potentials, but that
Yeah.
that doesn't affect this show. We live
Okay.
in, or I can compartmentalize enough that
Okay.
these live in two totally separate universes.
I'm telling you, I've made the joke before. Flip a coin, and you take that take into that
Right.
show, and then the
Right.
other one you take to the other show, and you just defend it to the grave. And
I
if like
will.
Josh
I will.
asks you about it, you'd be like, no, what are you
As
talking
long
about?
as your honest one is on this one, then then
Right.
that's fine
Yeah.
though.
But it's Kylan, so both takes are honest.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. No,
I'm
I
not.
can I can I can defend either way.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm down for any of those.
Let's do the
Okay.
36-minute one. Like I said, you've teased Kylan with that a few
All right.
times now, so you should
Okay.
give him that one.
All right. Riviera
Let's
by
do it.
Shadow Shadow
I've
will be next
never
week.
heard of that. I have
It
no
is
You,
concept
you
of what
literally
that
have
is.
heard it before because he's mentioned it several
Well,
times.
no, but like I
You've
don't know
never
the
listened to
band.
it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's their only release, so
Okay,
yeah, kind of in a vacuum there.
sweet.
All right. Shout out to all my patrons, WoW tier patron Tim Rogers and new Seltzer tier patron Michael Porter. So glad to have you on
Hey.
board, Michael. Thank you. Um, let's talk about one good thing that's
Oh,
happened
right.
since our last episode. Um,
I'm not going
Kylan?
first this time. Nope.
Okay, AJ.
Nope.
I don't know. great. We got a new kitty. We got a second
Oh, there you
kitty
go.
in 6 months. Another stray that my wife saved off the street. Little white
Very cool.
kitty that weighed less than a pound when we got it, and we've had it for like a week now, week and a half maybe. And so it was like 4 weeks old, not even 4 weeks old when we got it. Something had happened to its mom and it
Hmm.
wandered off. But he is acclimating, unlike our other cat, our orange tabby cat, Kaiju, is not a huge fan of the new
Mm,
kitty, but his name is Casper because he's
nice.
all white.
Love that.
So that's a pretty great thing. I think the kids love it. Wife loves it. Um, I just live here.
Yeah. Oh, I get that. Yeah.
I'm gonna do two good things. I'm cheating, but
Sweet.
one of them
Yeah,
we already
celebrate the
kind of
good.
mentioned, which was The Cure's new album, "Songs of a Lost World," is
Mhm.
good enough that I felt that needed to be mentioned as one good thing that's happened since our last episode. But also, my daughter, my 7-year-old, started playing basketball. Had her first practice yesterday, and she's clearly already one of the best ones on the team, and she's the only
Nice.
girl. So I'm very excited for this season of that.
Awesome,
Kylan,
man.
tell me something good, Kylan.
Okay, this is like super recent. So um on my other show, Church Names Now, we just talked to Mark Lee Townsend. Uh and we ended up talking for like 3 hours. Which was like super cool because it was the first episode that TJ came back. He's still in like new daddom.
Hmm.
But then Mark stayed on a long time after we like stopped recording, which like makes me feel really cool that like people want to like hang out and
For
and
sure.
talk to us. And you know, regardless of where people stand on this sort of thing, it was really cool that Mark at the end of our conversation asked me and Josh if he could like take a minute and like pray over us.
Oh, cool.
And it was just like it was this like really surreal moment for me
That's
where I
very
was
cool.
like, and I got to talk to him at length about Deus Vale. So it
Oh,
was it was
Is that making the episode? That needs to
of
make the
course,
episode.
of
Okay,
course,
that's
of
better.
course.
He also
okay.
Yeah,
answered the most important question ever asked about DC Talk and
he
Reliant
did.
K,
He
but I'll
did.
save that. I'll save
Yes.
that. I won't spoil that.
Yeah. Yeah.
For that, if at the very least
Yep.
that conversation needs to make the Patreon,
For sure.
so we
For
can
sure.
answer that
It
very
will.
important question.
It will.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
So that was I've had a very tough week with sickness and things in our house. So like, that was something that was pretty cool that happened.
Is
That's
Deusville
awesome.
coming back? Can he make that happen?
I tried. I did ask. I was like that was literally my question. I was like, "Okay, Mark, so we're getting into the Q&A portion. So my next question is um how can you make the next Deus Vale album happen?" And we do get into that. So,
Oh, interesting. Looking forward to
yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so if you're interested in joining the Patreon, we have it as low as $3 per month, and I have a Twitter account that is private that I post probably too much on about random things, but
Man,
um, I don't
you're
know. I
creating
think
content.
yeah, I feel like that's something kind of original that a lot of people haven't done with Patreon.
Yep.
So yeah, check that out. And until next time, Amy Grant times two.
Amy Grant times two. Love it.